His name is James Asare-Agyei, and he advocates for industry in the country. If you want me to put it in another way, he is the president of the Association of Ghana Industries. Tonight he's joined me in the studio for us to talk industry and find out how well we can develop the manufacturing sector. James, a very good evening. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening.
It's a pleasure having you here.
Thank you. And
awesome time.
Yeah, that's right.
I'll go directly into issues cropping up.
Right.
And I put the blame, I laid this blame at your doorstep. Quite recently, you were so tough on the PURC.
Right.
Just about a week after,
yeah,
information comes out that suspend PURC goes, ECG should suspend all its billing system with the software. And then I go ahead and say, James has caused this. You think you did with the AGI?
Well, you know, AGI's work is about advocacy and making sure that we bring to the fore issues that are affecting the private sector. And invariably, that is what we've been doing. You would understand that in our various business barometer survey reports, we had outlined certain key parameters which actually did affect the private sector. For example, at the time that we had serious depreciation, you know, we highlighted that strongly. Now, as we have seen some stability in the currency, we also brought to the fore the issue of the energy crisis. Now, we can see some level of improvement there. But you must understand the challenges that we're having with utility tariffs. I mean, electricity, water, in particular. And here, I mean, businesses are really facing challenges. Of course, I mean, you would understand that in the sub-region, or maybe in other parts of the world, industry always get cheaper power as compared to residential power users. That is, industry pays lower than residential power users. That is not the case of Ghana.
So what's the situation now? You are pairing power with the residential user, or the rates are just the same? Industry
has always been subsidizing residential power users.
So and you are rather paying more in Ghana
industry
today?
Is paying more than residential power users. That is why AGI has always been calling for reclassification of power tariffs. And unless we do that, it will be very difficult for industries to compete, you know, or produce competitively. Of course, if we talk about cost of credit, you know the situation in the country. So as we pay higher bills in terms of electricity, then we cannot actually produce to the level, you see, or maximizing our production or operations. And this is a challenge, I mean, for businesses in the country.
I give you thumbs up, and tonight I could clap for you, because indeed this particular call has moved so well that it's changing policy. Exactly. At least we've not seen the way forward, but the ECG has been ordered. But let me tell you point blank that under your leadership, the manufacturing sector has failed. And I lay it at your doorstep. Did you not advocate well? How come under the leadership of James Asare-Agyei, the manufacturing sector has gone so bad, if not worse?
Well, I mean, I'm so surprised, Kweku, that you are saying that under my leadership, you've seen...
Well, okay, so you want to say, oh, it started. You want to play the politician's game where he says, oh, it was not me before then.
It's a matter of the macroeconomic conditions, you see, that I find myself in, or we are in at the moment.
Okay.
Now, you have situations where there are so many challenges, you know, facing businesses, particularly industries. I mean, we're talking about high cost of credit. You're talking about the energy situation that in the past 3-4 years we have experienced. Then we saw the depreciation, I mean, 2014, 2015, unprecedented level of depreciation, you see, of our currency. I mean, these are challenges which are outside the purview, you see, of the industrialist. Of course, you see, when we're looking at these challenges, let us remember that there are some which are micro within the firm. Businesses or owners of businesses have control over that, or they can have control over that. If we're talking about issues related to macro, the managers of the economy, you're talking about people who have been put there to ensure that, you see, things run well, creating the necessary or the needed environment, you know, for businesses to thrive. Definitely, there's not much we can do. But then, of course, as a business...
Are you saying those people who have been put in charge, or the people who are supposed to make the grounds fertile, have not done so well to make the businessman today thrive in his or her business?
You see, that is why AGI advocates as a private sector, a leading private sector advocacy group. You know, we bring to the fore those challenges, you know, that are facing businesses in general or the private sector. In 2014, when the Bank of Ghana rules were introduced, you know, we came out strongly, and then we made sure that we indicated and we engaged government, we engaged institutions, particularly the central bank, about the negative effects that such rules were going to bring. And of course, I mean, a lot of them were rolled back. We are still feeling the effect because it hampered confidence in the economy. And one thing that we must also understand is that, you see, as we introduce some of these policies without adequate consultation, the rippling effect, you know, will linger on for a very long time. And these are some of the things that we are facing as a country now. So it's not a matter of we not really doing so much, or maybe industry or as AGI or manufacturing. I mean, we have smarter, business owners, business operators elsewhere than Ghanaians, but we are faced with very difficult economic circumstances. What we have done is that within such difficulties, a lot of businesses have thrived, have tried to survive. And that is why, I mean, AGI has the Ghana Industry Awards, you know, to commend, I mean, businesses that in the face of all these challenges, right, I mean, surviving or doing well. You know, some are even expanding.
This is a way to at least
show some level of commendation.
Captains of industries.
Absolutely.
Too. James, I don't envy you at all because it's a difficult position. Added to the responsibilities of AGI,
right,
you are the CEO of Asatec Roofing. Exactly. One company, I can't say for now if Asatec is still doing extremely well. I don't have the statistics now, but right, way back, it's a company I followed so well when you were in office. I mean, today, let me find out from you, how are you able to balance private life as a CEO of a manufacturing company with the business of AGI?
Now, let me say that Asatec Group is made up of 3 subsidiaries. Okay. Asatec Hollowware or Kitchenware, Asatec Roofing, and then now we are developing into Asatec Properties.
Oh, okay. So of course, 3, it's a group actually.
I mean, it's a group. I mean, a group being a holding, I mean, company. But then we have thrived. We've tried in spite of, in the face of all these challenges, you know, to grow a business. You see, that would be a reference point, I mean, for businesses beyond even the sub-region. As I speak with you, now we have quite a sizable market in the sub-region in Togo, in Benin, in Burkina Faso, in Mali. We are looking strongly at targeting the Nigerian market. Of course, we are doing pretty well also in the roofing industry. And here we are looking particularly at the reconstruction countries like La Côte d'Ivoire, Liberia, Sierra Leone. These are new frontiers. You know, they've just come out of war. There are a lot of developments going on. So, and that is
even as a private businessman, you're looking at taking your business out there. I mean, in the face of all these difficulties in the country,
that's right,
how are you able to even think about moving into Liberia and also Sierra Leone? I mean,
no,
are you not shooting yourself?
You see, at the moment, what the economy needs, that is the economy of Ghana needs, is an export-oriented businesses or companies. Because we need to be able to create the needed capacities locally, produce for the local market, and also export to earn the hard currency to come and support or show up our city. And I think businesses that are really looking to export, you know, need to be encouraged. And that is really what Asatec is doing. And we believe that in the next couple of years, I mean, we'll be doing more exports than what we sell locally. I mean, it's a growing business, and we are doing pretty well.
It's quite interesting. I mean, I wanted to stay in there. So looking at all the 3 areas that you've talked about, into roofing, into hollowware, into utensils and the like, the kitchenware. I mean, so are you going to stay around these 3 as a businessman?
Well, like I said, I mean, we develop, each time we develop a subsidiary, and we've just moved from the hollowware or the kitchenware into the roofing. Now we are strongly actually moving into the properties market. Of course, as we do that...
Properties as in what?
Real estate? As real estate, exactly.
Okay, so you are into roofing now, you're moving into real estate as a private business, because I want to get what you do and try to balance it with how is this man able to make time for the business of advocacy for industry or captains of industry?
Well, I mean, with the advocacy work, AGI work, it's a team work. Definitely, I don't work alone. But then, of course, as a leader, you see, of the association, I make sure I involve people, look at the key issues, bring them to the fore. So I don't necessarily always need to be at the AGI Secretariat, but I can work from anywhere. In most cases, you know, we have to get involved in one meeting or the other. We engage policymakers, ministers, and other forms, you see, of business linkages. But I think what is important is that once you have a very competent team that you're working with, irrespective of the challenges, you would really be able to weather the storm. And that is really what I have done in the past 2 years, almost 2.5 years.
One major question that producers and all, when I was coming in, had to discuss with me is the kind of hands we need to grow the manufacturing sector today, the kind of hands we need for industry today. I mean, in your term, which you're still serving as the AGI president, have you seen that the various tertiary institutions, the universities, are creating that hands for you, that you need to man the various establishments? What is the linkage between industry today and academia?
Yeah, well, Kweku, I think this is a key issue that we need to look critically at, because industry has always complained about competent employees. The fact that we are getting the required skilled labor, had been a big challenge. And there's one thing that I always ask, that now who is really telling the truth? You have graduates who are out there who are saying that we're not getting employment. And then you have industrialists.
You are not employing them. Exactly.
That, you see, they are saying they are not getting employment. Then you have industrialists who are saying that, look, I have so many vacancies that I don't have people to fill. You see, so who is really telling the truth? But you see, the key issue is, are tertiary institutions really churning out the quality or the caliber of graduates, you see, that are required in industry? Do we have the curricula, the various, syllabi and all those programs that are being taken in universities, in polytechnics and other institutions of higher learning really in line with changing trends in industry? You see, the global changes taking place, are we really using that to educate the students that are coming?
I put the question to you. Do you think the tertiary institutions today...
I think that the collaboration, you see, the collaboration between academia and industry in this country is really lacking. We don't have that level of integration, of industrial practices into our academic, pursuit or life. And for that matter, there's a gap. Would it surprise you to know that you can have an accounting graduate, you see, from either a university or probably a polytechnic, who doesn't know how to put on computer or doesn't know how to even use Excel? These are the key challenges that I think our educational, particularly the tertiary institutions, should address. And I was quite pleased, when we were involved in that, the committee looking at the setting up or conversion of polytechnics into technical universities. Now, the fact that industry collaboration or linkage was a prerequisite, for a polytechnic to be converted, to a technical university was very, very gratifying. And I think we should pursue that. We have said over and again, AGI has said over and again that, look, don't let us do this wholesale conversion of polytechnics to universities or technical universities by pronouncement. But we should make sure that they meet the infrastructure, human resource, and other facilities, I mean, they meet all those requirements so that they are gradually turned into technical universities. They have to develop that collaboration between industry. You know, other than that, you see, polytechnics graduates are supposed to be middle-level manpower, but that is not what we are experiencing, what we're seeing now. And it's a key challenge, you know, for us. Let me also mention that it will again surprise you to know that university students are now using pamphlets written by lecturers. But university education is supposed to be
James,
universal education.
What do you expect a lecturer to do? Has it not been pamphlets that we've all been lectured?
You see, 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, you have, I mean, university students who go to library and research. You have university students who will go learn, I mean, outside the box. They will think outside the box. Now, we have university students, they use lecturers' pamphlets. If you write anything outside the pamphlet, you are marked down or penalized. Are we training our students well, you know, to be able to face the realities of life? Are we preparing them for industry? You know, these are the key things that we need to address. And as a country, I don't think we are doing well at the moment.
If you have the opportunity to address the educational system, indeed to tailor it towards your direction, industry, what would you want to tell the lecturers? What would you want to tell stakeholders in education? What should they do that would help industry so well that we would turn, when we meet back 10 years after, we would see that the manufacturing sector is thriving?
No, what I would suggest, probably one of the few things that I would suggest will be every polytechnic, every university should have what we call a competency-based unit, whereby skills are developed, so that as the students, I mean, go through their academic exercises, as they write exams, as they look at certain things that will let them actually have their certificates, they should also learn the basic skills. For example, the use of computers, writing technical reports, being able to even have certain courses in supervision. Okay? Now, as we do these things, what we are trying to do is that we are inculcating in these students real life, I mean, situations. Once they are in there, I mean, in the industry, they are not new. It takes a long time to train, I mean, people or bring students up to the level where you think they can even meet the minimum. So it is really a challenge. We have also made a mistake, you see, as a country, our educational system, to make students certificate oriented. So people are just only interested in passing examination and getting one certificate or the other. And once they come, they hold the BScs, they hold the masters, and so on and so forth. But once they come into industry, once they come into academic, real life, you know, they are found wanting. We need to look at that competency technical based training. We have diluted our technical education. At the moment, if you go to the polytechnics, over 70% of the students are pursuing courses in humanities. I think it should be reversed.
James Asare-Agyei is the AGI president, and tonight he is my guest, looking at how we can grow industry, looking at how we can grow the manufacturing sector. Well, tonight there was one area I didn't prepare you enough, but I know you would have a fair understanding. Let me say that the PPI has just seen a downward trend, an indicator that, of course, pricing that the producer or the manufacturer would incur, it's coming down. The Business Barometer survey has again come up to say that, look, confidence is coming up. But against the backdrop of an energy situation, I mean, sometimes you would sleep in darkness. So is the AGI really confusing us? Today they come up with a situation where the economy looks virtually good. The next minute they say, no, it doesn't look good. What grounds are you saying the economy is recovering in the face of that captain of industry?
Kwaku, let me mention that the AGI Business Barometer Survey Report is an empirical data collection where we are actually on the ground across the country. We sample and interview over 500 chief executives of industry. And for that matter, what they tell us, or the data we get, are data that have been collected, you know, from people who are in the thick of affairs. I mean, they are in operation, Now, what happens here is that it is not a theoretical approach in assessing the level of confidence in the economy. So you see, if after analyzing all our data and we come out to tell you that, look, the chief executives, those who are actually operating their businesses, tell you that the level of confidence you see in the economy has gone up, definitely you would have to believe them. And then we've also seen that in the past 6 to 8 months, there had been some seeming stability in our currency. And there's no doubt about that. Of course, since mid-December, you have seen that there had been some improvement in the energy situation. Of course, all these things give some level of assurance, to business operators. And let me also indicate that, you see, with the AGI Business Barometer survey, it is not only historical, in nature, but then as we look at the past 3 months, we also project into the future in the next 6 months. So you see,
did you project that the second half of the year is still going to look good?
Well, that was what over 60% of interviewees, said that, look, based on what we are seeing, and of course it showed in the baseline indicator, the business confidence indicator, which then moved from 95.9 in the last quarter of last year to 102.9 in the first quarter of 2016. That once it crossed the baseline of 100, it tells you that business confidence in the economy is rising. But then, of course, let us really be very cautious, because you see, some of these things are subject to what happens in the subsequent quarters. And for that matter, we are saying that, yes, based on the historical happenings, it is very likely that we're going to see some level of improvement in the economic activities in the country. And so definitely we need to, from the horse's own mouth, and for that matter, you have to believe them. And of
course, these are the people who employ. These are the people who produce for the economy. These are the people who pay taxes.
Absolutely.
We salute captains of industry tonight. But just before you go, James, it should just not be a discussion that would not give suggestions also. So I would want you to look into the economy today. What can we do to support that industrialist today? What are the factors that we can put in place to ensure that those companies that were complaining of collapsing and the like are revived so well, such that it can match other companies, even in the sub-region, and going forward, match those coming from the western parts of the country?
Well, you see, apart from the current utility tariffs, being quite astronomical, and in this case, let me say that even though as at mid-December last year, we were told that the increment was about 59.2%. You see, but then what our members are telling us is that some are having as high as 500% increment, you see, in utility tariffs. And we think that there are abnormalities, you see, in such sort of pricing mechanism in our electricity.
So by mentioning 500%, you means if the person was paying 100 Ghana cedi, it's
no, but even in domestic, utilization of electricity, people who were paying 200 Ghana cedis or using 200 Ghana cedis of power are now paying about 1,500. What percentage do you work on that? You see, to be able to get 1,500. So what we are saying is that, look, these things must be addressed immediately, because for the country to industrialize, we need to look at our energy sufficiency and the pricing of our energy. We have persistently called for reclassification of electricity tariffs such that industry will pay the right. We are not saying that reduce it for industry. All that we're saying is that let industry pay the right price, you see, or the right amount that they use, so that they don't need to subsidize residential power users. But then apart from utility tariffs, we are also talking about high cost of credit. Now, Kweku, tell me, if you are borrowing at 35%, now, what it means is that if you take 1 million Ghana cedis, you should be able to earn above 350,000 Ghana cedis just to service the loan and then also be able to make some margins to pay workers, to take charge of overheads, and then look at other sort of incidental costs. Now, what business would you run to get over 40% or 50%, profit? It's not possible. So we are saying that cost of credit is really crippling a lot of businesses. Now, in the sub-region, you have even lesser developed countries than Ghana that have lower interest rates. And of course, these things are coming out of the fact that we have almost the highest policy rate, in the world. And
that's Ghana today.
I'm telling you. So you see,
around 26%.
And you see, when you have such a situation, it is very difficult for businesses to operate. And these are some of the challenges. Of course, apart from talking about, the utility prices, talking about cost of credit, our market is small. We need to be able to create bigger and markets, for our manufacturers, our businesses. Not to forget the fact that even when businesses are ready to take the credit, you see, we have only short-term credit. Our survey has indicated that about 80 to 85% of commercial banks' credits are all up to about 12 months. Now, if you have credit which is just below lower than 12 months or up to 12 months, can you be able to use such credit, short-term credit, to retool, to expand your businesses? It's not possible. We need medium to long-term credit so that businesses can be able to import equipment, which will take about 6 months to 1 year to arrive. You need another 3 to 4 months to install and test this equipment, before you start actual production. These are some key challenges that industry is facing as a country. And that is why AGI is making all efforts, to set up that industrial development fund, you see, and of course, by extension, the bank, so that we can be able to help particularly small and medium scale enterprises.
Particularly so they'll be able to help small and medium scale enterprises. The major problems they face today is the tariff regime that is not favoring them, the cost of credit in the country that is equally not helping them, and their markets quite smaller, so they have to be innovative to look out of the box. This is the man who is into roofing in the country, who is into utensils in the country, and then he's moved into real estate also. That's the group chairman of Asate Group, James Asare-Ejay. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Indeed, it was on State of Affairs. Just the way it is how we will present it. My name is Kwekutime. We looked at the business edition of it, and indeed my guest, James Asare-Ejay, tonight has sailed it right. If we support industry, it would go a long way to build our economy. A very good evening to you. We look forward to having you tomorrow as Nanaba joins you with more on State of Affairs. A very good evening to you.